Hello. We've been caught. We've been caught in our offices at the exact point that we were expecting to be caught. So yes, by definition, battle stations, everyone.
Man, do we have our new emote yet?
No, I checked and it's not there yet. So next week we will have a brand new emote for everyone to play with.
Unless it clears during the show.
That would be so fun. If it clears by a certain point, there is a point in the show where we need you to use it.
Well, we don't need to. We want to.
No, we need. We didn't spend exactly 7 minutes trying to upload it and get it into the right. For anybody that has a Twitch channel, do you know how freaking annoying it is? We love you, Twitch. To get the thing the right size to get emotes to work.
Tell us all about it, Captain.
It's hard.
Tell us all about it. Guys, we had so much fun playing Mario Kart with you yesterday.
It was so good. They didn't win at all, and she's fine with it.
It's not true, and you know it. But you can check out our clips now. I clipped 3 things today.
We have clips
that I thought was kind of fun from yesterday. Hi, Hodgepodge Mania.
Hello, Hodgepodge Mania.
I like how it's like, hi, it's me, Hodgepodge Mania, with the name Smelly Carpet. That's a kid's book in the making.
Smelly carpet, smelly carpet.
It was so much fun, and we're gonna do it again. I don't know if we'll have time to do it today, but we will be doing it next week for sure. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
I think it's on our schedule.
I haven't put it in there yet. Have you?
Thank you, Link.
She wins all of the mind games.
It's your gamer tag. That's fucking cool.
Nice. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing some Mario Kart with Mr. Dicer, hopefully next maybe actually not too sure, but definitely me and Danae next Thursday because it's Captain's Pod's birthday. It's our 1-year anniversary on Thursday.
I'm gonna go put that in there now because that's what we should do live instead of getting to our Captain's Pod recording.
Yeah, and then realizing it's not anywhere to. Can anyone else smell burning? No, it would be weird if any of you people could smell burning in my house, but I can definitely smell burning.
Could you go check on that?
Yeah.
We're just gonna take a quick moment, and Ian's gonna go check on his shit because if something is burning, he needs to know about it. Jagged says, my daughter Mia, I hope I said that correct. Could be Maya, but I think it's Mia. 10 played 2. So good. But her little sister was mad that she couldn't play 2 because she didn't finish her. Oh no. Motivation for next time. But also eating fast sucks. I remember being at the table when I was little and being told like, hurry up and eat. And so I was like, I'm a slow eater. And I would get in trouble. And then I would fill up quickly because I didn't really want anything else to eat. And back in that time, there really wasn't a lot of information about how like you're not supposed to eat everything on your plate, you know, like small portions, let it settle and then go back for more later if you're hungry. So I would just stop eating. And I got into this huge argument with my parents. I think I was 5 years old. I remember this very clearly, sitting at the table, falling asleep at the table because they refused to let me get up off of the table unless I ate everything on my plate. And I just couldn't do it.
But you're such a tiny nibbler. You just do like, you pouch. Like you like rummage for 30 seconds and then you're done.
I'm just like, oh, these nuts will sustain me for the next 2 hours. You guys, it's not healthy because what that means is I'm so sedentary that I don't need anything to sustain the fact that I move from one room to the next and then I go to bed and then I wake. Like it's not healthy.
Every single door frame in your house has like scuff marks where the arms of the chair have butted through the door frame because you never get up. You just wheel through the whole.
Just wheel through
the whole house. Yeah.
Link, we're so excited to see you guys at Sin Week. That's gonna be so much fun.
Can you bring the puppy? Bring the dog. Bring the dog.
My what? My dog?
No, in Link's picture, there's a dog. I hope that's a dog.
Oh, it's like their child.
No, I was gonna say like cat or something. I didn't know. I haven't mistaken a dog for a human.
Did you say a cow?
Cat. Who has a pet cow?
That's my question. And it laughing like a cow.
It doesn't. So why would I say
Jesus.
that? Of
I
all
was-
the letters beginning with C.
I almost said, the next time that you're in Missouri, we really need to go look at the cows because you have a really messed
there
up
are cows-
expectation.
There are cows in England. The only cows I saw in Missouri were in burgers. Burn. I don't know why that's a burn.
Speaking of burning, what was burning in your house?
I don't know. Maybe I can just smell toast. I can smell something like burnt bread.
But isn't
don't
that a
know.
sign of a stroke?
It is. I'm pretending it's not. Maybe I saw it to the barbers today. Maybe they put like a beard oil on. Maybe it smells like burning. 'Cause it's not one I usually have. So
But
This is
wouldn't you have
great.
noticed that right away and not hours later?
I'm imagining it like accumulates over time. Yes, Michael Sullivan. I was excited when I seen Star Trek 4 is supposed to come out December 22nd, 2023. Not a chance. Unless you're seeing some news that I haven't seen. I'm going to quickly Google that. But I think Star Trek 4 is 100% dead. Now that they lost the director for the new Fantastic Four stuff. Yeah, Matt Shackman left.
Yeah, while you look that up, I'm appreciating 8417's comment that says beard oil will hit you randomly at times.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no point of reference for this, and I'm like,
Confirmed.
let's cancel the show. You go to the doctor. That's a really important medical thing that happens. People smell burning.
Yeah, that's no, it's true. And I if it carries on all day, I'll be worried and I'll get it looked into. As far as I know, Star Trek 4 is not happening, which is sad face.
Great question from Josh. Why would beard oil be in your mustache?
Oh, don't get started on this. The entire thing is a beard. It's not mustache and beard. It is beard. If you get rid of the
Wait,
stash,
hold on just one second. When you did your circular
I meant
face
that,
thing,
not
you
the-
included your eyebrows. I just
So,
wanted to.
yes, some people have like full facial, just beard everywhere, all over. Don't judge. But the stash is different. So if you shave the stash, you do not have a beard. You have a bootstrap beard or a helmet strap beard thingy. Yeah. It's only a beard when it's all over.
I really want to talk about this before we
Facts.
start the show.
Chop snow.
I did this once when I was a kid. My mom said, this is about eating. My mom said when I finished dinner, we could play Battleship. So I threw a bunch of food on the floor under the table, and it worked until my mom discovered the food on the floor the next day. I was an expert food hider,
It's
which is why I
amazing.
love this comment so much, because I'm having like flashbacks and memories of what I did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wait, what did you do?
Oh, I mean, like I hid food in different spaces.
Did you have like a favorite place?
Well, my favorite one was that I had to eat my peas, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to finish my peas. And they didn't really care about mashed potatoes as much.
Mhm.
So I watched my parents and waited until they weren't looking, and I was creating the well in my potatoes for my, I'm assuming gravy is what they thought that I was doing. And then as they weren't looking, I would just drop one in and like barely cover it so that the well would just slowly fill up. So inside the well of
Nice.
potatoes was just this like archaeological dig of just mashed potatoes.
Oh, so they were
expertly hid them.
escapees.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes, they were escapees.
Yes, they were.
We need to have some kind of like a little like sound that's like, yay! Or
Yay!
like, wah, wah, wah. I really wish I had that cool fucking board, guys.
Oh no, don't bring that clip up. Wait, hang on a minute. Hang on. I'm in the wrong brand. Okay, I don't have it. I thought I was going to have Danae freaking out that she hasn't got the board, but it's on a different one.
You can switch over pretty easy.
Ian, is Aaron drink? Yeah. It happened. It happened again.
Well, so today, just like every Captain's Pod day, and for those of you guys who are joining us for the first time, here is a little bit of what to expect for today's hangout with you on Twitch and on YouTube. We are going to be recording the podcast that will release next week for
shit.
Captain's
Am
Pod.
I recording? Yeah. Troll.
That's happened before, and it's been nightmarish. So not
Not done.
good.
Not
Anyhow,
done. Not
so
done.
when we actually get to the recording part of the program, we stopped talking to the chat, not because we don't love you,
Because you suck.
but because you suck.
You suck. Oh wait, you said.
Fuck you, Ian. So if people join the show while we're talking about the podcast proper, they might be confused as to why we're not having conversations with you guys who are in the chats live. So welcome them into the show for us and say hello. Let them know that we're going to be back soon. We have like a little scrolly thing on the bottom that we play, so you can point to that to read more about it. So anyhow, there's that.
But this week we have just watched Descent Part 2. So shall we get into the show and actually talk about it?
Yes, I think I'm ready.
You ready, man? I cannot wait. I am interested. I have theories about what you thought about this episode. Yes, let's get into it, into the show. And yeah, any questions? Chuck them in the chat and we'll try and star them for after the show. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink or something from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first. What would you like from the replicator that is not necessarily a beverage, but also can be?
Right. Well, I'm just going to go for the emotion chip.
Wait.
I'd like to replicate the emotion chip out of the
No.
What? This is my first time to not talk about something to drink. And the very first time I do the new rules, you say I can't?
Yeah, no, you're not allowed emotions. You've made it a number amount of years without emotions. What makes you think you need them now?
I mean, doesn't mean I'm going to use it. I just want it.
You just want it so no one else can have it? Or, you know, the potential of emotions is there one day. If you really need to unleash on someone.
That's right. I want to display it on the mantle.
Yeah.
You know, in all of its little chip glory.
Amazing.
Lots of chips in this episode, actually.
Lots of chips. Lots of chips. All I would like is a prosthetic removable fingernail, just so that I can trigger Danae into using her emotion chip at some time. I forgot that we needed the law or data removes their fingernail trigger warning. Danae in this episode.
Ugh.
Ugh. Vomit. Ugh. Okay, this week we are covering Star Trek TNG Season 7, Episode 1, Descent Part 2. Last week we left on a cliffhanger of Lore has kidnapped Data and they have joined together and are raising an army of Borg. Does it have anything to do with Hugh? Who knows?
Hugh knows!
Hugh knows! This week we find out it has everything to do with Hugh, as Hugh has, upon rejoining his ship once the Enterprise had healed him up. Screw it. I'm going to go back to the beginning on that one.
You should. That's this is the part of doing the live show that's fun. So in the chat, if you guys are subs, go ahead and just spam the chat with a no emote.
We're not doing it.
That was a fail. That was a fail.
Do not clip this. Right. Way to guarantee something immediately gets clipped.
Do you want me to take a stab at it, Captain?
No, because I won't have the. Yeah, okay, go for it. Yeah.
I actually don't have anything written down for this. Okay, yeah.
What happened this week?
In this episode, Lore and Data have a emotional sibling tiff. Geordi almost dies, and so does Picard, and so does Data, and so does Worf, and so does everybody in the fucking sun. Will Beverly Crusher save the day as captain? Yeah, sorta, but nobody talks about it. But we're not getting to the sins first. Back to you, Captain.
Yes.
How was that? That's pretty good.
That was amazing. Forgive me if I have another stab at it. We discover very quickly that Hugh, upon being reunited with his Borg ship, all sorts of shenanigans happened, and when faced with the concept of individuality, they went absolutely batshit and left them vulnerable to a hostile takeover from Lore, who wishes to turn them into a master race of cybernetic organisms and destroy the Federation. Upon kidnapping Picard, LaForge, and Deanna experimentation happens to see if Geordie's interface with his visor can help them bridge the gap. Will Data kill his friend? Will Beverly save the Enterprise by flying it into a sun? We shall find out. That went very similar to your summary, and I didn't mean it to.
Well, it just is a testament to my brilliance.
Well, quite. And upon that brilliance, what are your thoughts and feelings about this episode and conclusion to the two-parter?
Well, I think I predicted a lot about this one. What did you think?
Yeah, no, you predicted most of it. I mean, Law doesn't exactly die, but it's fairly conclusive that he's been deactivated and is going to be disassembled. Yeah.
I mean,
you took a shot.
Yeah. I don't understand why we're not just eviscerating this thing, and we're doing the same thing that happened the first time that didn't go well because he was recreated. So I guess we're just leaving that open for potentially more Lore in the future. And I predicted that this was the end of Lore, so maybe he does come back at some point because they didn't destroy his pieces like they should have.
That's what you got to do. Just store him in different parts, in different planets. I get why Data doesn't want to vaporize him. Like, you don't just vaporize like a prisoner. And he is a prisoner. I guess if you just... They don't have the death penalty, so you can't just put Law to death.
Okay.
I think they have to do something... Although we don't just leave people in deliberate comas either, which is basically what they're doing.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They have removed his ability to defend himself in court. So
yeah, exactly. They've just pickled him completely. Can you imagine, man? I want to see Law go on trial.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that didn't happen, actually. I've never thought about that. He is an individual. He is a person. It is strange that they just take him apart and leave him.
I mean, I get it. But it is that thing where it's like, well, okay, but are androids like people? Like, well,
I mean, they are.
Are they living creatures that you need to respect with this universal law of like respect for living things? Or is he an android that doesn't have the right to defend himself? Because this episode would indicate that the society thinks that they have the right to just,
no, you're right.
Turn him off and disassemble him.
I mean, a super early episode proves that they can't do that. And Data does go on trial, and it's proved that he is a person. He can determine his own future. And unless he's got a twin brother, and then Law can't do that. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing I didn't think about. But, yeah, so you did predict a good chunk of the episode. I am not surprised. This is an era of Star Trek that's fairly paint by numbers, which is one of the great reasons that we find it so comfortable and kind of satisfying. But other than the predictions, how did it hit you?
I liked it. I liked it for a lot of reasons. I thought that it was a fun two-parter where there was a lot of interesting things happening. And I kind of have to put myself back into the mindset of like the joy of watching this show when I was a kid, you know, like at the TV, and I just loved Star Trek. And I see a lot of like modern shows, and this is obviously missing some of the modern touches of storytelling, or even just the really, truly, I guess, just storytelling is probably the most obvious. I mean, of course, costuming and sets and stuff are sometimes almost the exact same even now because it's expensive to create content. But I thought that the storytelling was good because they're doing something with Hugh, as I predicted. I know he would be here, and he was, and they're reintroducing their attempt to restart their lives, and they're kind of showing more about the plight of the Borg that have kind of come off of the main collective. And then they did something really fun. They put Beverly in the captain's chair. And that's my favorite part of this episode, and also my greatest sin of this episode.
So
we'll get to that.
Yes. Oh, that's great. It's going to be so tricky to talk about it without sinning it, but it's exactly the same. I love it, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I also it was because they had more time here. They really like split the crew up into all these different sets. So we have some that are imprisoned, and we have some that are walking around on the planet and trying to find their way into this prison, and we have some that are still on the ship. And there was a lot of tension. There's a lot of getting to see different dynamics between different people. This was a huge cast. When you look at the cast that was involved in both of these episodes, the Borg and all of the Enterprise crew, like the set must have been pretty busy as they created, this season end and season beginning. And I really like what they're doing with Data as well, that they were able to figure out, massive leaps in technology understanding and opening up little devices and pushing things around, and like the knowledge that the people have in the future to do some of the things that they do, to just do like an emotion swipe, our Bluetooth barely works through walls. Ian's internet is shit upstairs, and Captain Picard can like swipe something off of a Borg, push a button, and then Data is suddenly feeling his specifically, his what was it? The moral compass or whatever, his
ethical program.
Yeah.
With a Kevion pulse.
There's stuff like that I'm just like, okie dokie.
Okay. We're just going to techno blah blah that
but
stuff.
This is the sci-fi future. And of course, they're not going to let Data kill Picard or kill Geordi. And I think they got to play with the character of Data a little bit, showing how he could be manipulated, and that I thought it was fun. It's serious. This is a more serious episode. It's not like there wasn't like a big laugh for me or kind of a moment.
Oh, you kidding? Like Data doing his Picard impression?
No, that was terrifying.
Genius. It's so bad. It's
was so
mean.
Fucking scary. I did have a couple of moments that I really, really enjoyed, like the backup crew. So like, I don't remember their names. Tate, I think is her name.
Tate and Barnaby. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Tate and Barnaby.
Tate was great.
The
work that they get to do in like just
a few scenes,
15 minutes, if probably less than that, 10 minutes of screen time together. Beverly has like a great relationship with Tate, taking her under her wing. Barnaby is like full of himself, like he's like junior grade but still higher than Tate, and it's really, really nice to see the underdog.
It was interesting
just
to see.
It's like Lower Decks being on the bridge of the Enterprise.
That's exactly what I was saying, is the opportunity to bring in fresh people who still are very well knowledged and can fill that role and still kind of like make magic happen and have the tension of going into the ideas that they come up with, the solutions, all that stuff. That was really fun. But I liked Tate's character, this new person who 6 weeks ago jumped into this and now is having to do some like major shit on the bridge of the starship.
The flagship of Starfleet, the most important ship in the fleet.
And I thought it was acted really well. Like at one moment she said 90 seconds, no, 70. And she just was so hard on herself, I felt that.
It's so good because someone made a mistake. They got an estimate wrong. It's so good.
Yeah. So I thought that they played around with the dynamic of the people that would be existing on the crew, which gives, sometimes it's really insular. Like it's just the same people, obviously, and that's who we want to see.
Yeah.
So when they do introduce other crew members, it's interesting to watch how the writers justify that decision to bring in new people. And this was an opportunity to do that, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so, I totally agree.
What about you? So you've watched this how many times?
Millions of times. I can't see it objectively. I really like this episode. I like it as a two-parter, mainly because it's one of the very, very few times that Picard has to deal with the consequence of like his actions. Like at the end of I, Borg, they make the decision to leave Hugh with his people. They wipe his memory, but Beverly says, I can't be certain that I've wiped his memory entirely. And Picard is like, well, hopefully he will transmit some of the individuality and hopefully that will help. Like, there's a lot of hopefullys there. And here's the consequence. It actually wrecked this Borg community. The Borg severed them and said, fuck that, we ain't dealing with them. And they were left to fend for themselves, and they murdered each other. They turned themselves off. They starved. And then when a society is at its lowest and people are panicked, one confident person with a direction comes in, and it doesn't even matter what that direction is, as long as they have a big voice and confidence, some people will follow them, and even the best of people will follow them because they're providing some certainty, some safety, and some security. And they don't even ask, okay, so what's the end goal here? What's going to happen? And it's such a, once again, Star Trek holding up a brilliant mirror to society and what can happen in the real world when you have these very charismatic people that prey on people that are at their very, very lowest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it for doing that.
And then it was also brave because at the end, there's this sort of moment when I wondered if Picard was going to step in and really give some more framework for their society, but instead they step back out and trust that they're going to figure it out. But it's a little bit scary in a way because they're on this planet now. Their ship has been destroyed. So I don't think that they have a plan really.
Let's just hope it was only the bad Borg that were on that ship.
It was their people that were still kind of had been taken off. So they have no way apparently until they create it to get off of this space. So thankfully they can breathe the atmosphere. And they can build up a new society here on this planet and start over again, essentially. And could Starfleet give them some framework, some food, something?
I think this is the beautiful thing about Lower Decks is that I think the Second Contact team then follow up and will probably come in. But we, like, spoilers, we don't know what happens between now and when we see Hugh in Picard season 1. So there is, I'm sure there's comics and books and whatnot, but
that was one of my questions. So we don't see Hugh again until Picard?
Next time we see Hugh is Picard.
Oh, shit.
So all we know is that he has
eventually
loses his Borg parts, gets turned back into a human. Yeah, we don't know.
Man, what a story. Are there books and stuff that can kind of show that?
Yes.
Okay.
However, they're not canon.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it's more like fun fan fiction style.
So it's really weird. The books are different. They're a separate universe essentially. So they are officially licensed by Paramount, CBS. They are official Star Trek novels, but they are not in the Star Trek TV movie canon. So they are a separate universe. Yeah. So it's kind of like a what if kind of thing. This is one possible route that things could have taken.
That's cool. That's a great story. It's an interesting story. There's a lot missing there than canon-wise that I think would be... when you think about like how much Star Trek writers can pull from, it's a lot. Like it's such a rich storytelling space. And
it must be so hard to not follow up on all of the other episodes and just make an entire show. And I guess that's almost what Lower Decks is, but make an entire show just calling back to the loose ends. You can have an entire series just based on like Star Trek loose ends.
And this is one of them that gives the more serious tones, the underside of things. Like Picard addressing his mistake was another one of my predictions, and I think it kind of a little bit happened. Maybe not like I thought it was going to happen, but at the same time, Picard came face to face with Hugh again, and Hugh came face to face with people that he blamed for his pain and then kind of reconciled a little bit. And even though they didn't really like sink inside of that, they could have done an entire episode about that stuff. Yeah. But it's this last scene in a two-parter that had so much else going on. So I think no matter what kind of a Trek person you are, there was something to enjoy in this episode and the previous episode.
I think the 90s-ness of it, and we're going to have a bad guy. Laura's very mustache twirly, standard bad guy with like almost the Bond villain bad guys with the cheesy lines and we will rule the world and you will submit to me and whatnot. And all of that gets so much focus, and the Hugh stuff, which is the heart of the story, gets disserviced a little bit. So I think if that was made today, we would focus way more on Hugh and this uprising from below to topple everybody more than we would on the, like, they pack in so much. We've got Data torturing Geordi, Beverly rescuing the Enterprise, then Hugh, Riker and Worf finding everyone, Lore and Data interacting, Lore and the other Borg interacting, and him, how he quashes rebellion. There is so freaking much that they're trying to do.
The rebellion, and then there's the sub-rebellion with Hugh's crew. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like there is
There's
so
a
many
lot.
different factions. This could have been a. I think if this had happened in TNG, in Deep Space Nine, or in today's Star Trek, this is an entire season-long arc that carries
Feels
on.
like it.
But back in the day, they're like, "Nah, you got 90 minutes
No.
at best to get through this."
It does a lot, and when you start to want to go under the surface and ask questions like, well, how does that work, or why does that
Hmm.
work, or what is that dynamic, you
Yeah.
really end up filling in a lot of the space with your own assumptions about the story. And that's
Hmm.
like you said, that's kind of normal storytelling for the 90s. So yeah, it was
For sure.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
um was there, do you want to go like through our highlight parts, or what are you have more
Yeah,
thoughts that you want to share?
absolutely. Yeah, no. My no, definitely go through the highlights. Let's do Beverly. It's this could have easily been like Beverly or Deanna that was like kind of on the ship and doing this stuff. But for some reason, I love that it's Beverly.
Me too.
I love that she's taken charge and she is a commander. She has taken. In fact, that's why it isn't Deanna, because Deanna hasn't technically qualified the command program thing yet. That happens in season 7. So Beverly is technically the only one qualified to do it. But I just love it. She does like the mothering, nurturing. She has her like fierce science background. She has her confidence, and she just has a different presence on the bridge that Riker or Picard has. Like even the way she sits in the chair, the way she carries herself around the bridge and gets her hands dirty. I love how much of her personality goes into the way she commands the Enterprise. I love it.
Yeah, I really I love Beverly in general.
Hmm.
uh for many reasons. I think her character is really interesting. I think maybe even my character, I was more interested in her after the Beverly fucks a candle episode.
Uh-huh. Yep. Makes
Hmm.
sense.
um in this case, I think it's because as a as the medical officer, as like the head of the medical wing of everything, she has a level of authority that she can even tell the captain, like, you need to go to your quarters. And so someone has to
Hmm.
tell the captain when it's time to not be captain. And I've seen an episode of that happening when they all got sick from like a virus in
Mm.
that one episode, that I think that was the one where Riker was on the planet of ladies,
Yeah, Angel One.
Angel
Yeah.
One.
Hmm.
And so that was really interesting to see. So I like that she has this authority level. Um, and seeing her in the captain's chair, how she was instantly just like, this is what we're doing and this is how it's going. And she just is assertive and she's clear, which is what a captain needs to be.
Hmm.
And I really enjoyed seeing her in that space. I think if I would change something, I would maybe have her solve problems more from like a medical perspective. I think it'd be interesting if she
100%.
were thinking more organically,
Uh-huh.
or like scientifically in her field to solve problems. But at the same time, she's leaning into her leadership to do
Hmm.
what needs to get done. And it clearly shows that she has an understanding of more than just the things medically going on, because she truly understands that at some point when the ranks come down, if it comes to
Hmm.
me, I still have to know my shit. And it was really powerful. I love seeing a woman in power, and seeing somebody in the captain's chair is always fun. Like whether it's Riker or anyone,
Totally.
I'm always like, ooh, they're in the captain's chair. But for it to be Beverly was new. I hadn't
Hmm.
seen that yet. So I really fucking loved that.
I think we watched an episode. It was in like season 1 or 2 when Geordie is in the captain's chair, and yeah, it's so great. You're right. It's so great whenever we see someone else trying to take control, and I like that they didn't lean into her self doubt or anything. Just like, oh, I can't do this. It was just firmly, I'm in charge. I can
I
do this.
You said something that I don't know. You said something about being motherly. I didn't pick up on that. So what did you feel was motherly about her approach as a
Maybe
captain?
motherly may not be the right word, but the way she was with Tate was understanding that this is a new recruit. I'm going to empathize with her. She's only been here for 6 weeks. Like, I bet you didn't expect to be in this position, and I still want you on the bridge. I feel like Picard or Riker might have been a bit more, you're relieved, let's bring the next person in. Or we don't have time for empathy, let's just get to it. You can either do the job or you can't, or you
Hmm.
can't. But I think it kind of mirrors that Beverly's in an unusual position as well.
It does. Are there other episodes that you can think of where they have been more? I know for sure Riker, like they were such fucking assholes to Wesley. I'll never forgive them for that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was Wesley,
Mhm.
somebody who's been around on the crew for a long time. And
Yeah.
here come the newbies. So yeah, maybe they would be complete dicks
Yeah.
and just be like, next, and just
Next
wheel them
up.
through. So yeah, maybe characteristically it is more quote unquote motherly or tender.
Yeah. And I don't even mean, I mean that as a positive. Like, it's a different style of command that I really, really, really like. There is more than one way to command a starship, and that's something that I love about the Star Trek captains, is that Picard is different from Cisco, is different from Janeway, is different from Kirk, is different from Pike. It's one of my favorite things. Like, what is this new captain going to be like?
I would say that the only things I didn't enjoy about it are the things that I think I'm going to sin here in a little bit when we get to that part.
Mhm.
But even when she was doing things that are batshit fucking crazy, I liked that she just did it with confidence. I mean, she
Yeah.
was confidently leading everyone to their death, and that is a trait, of a leader.
Because you know what? Wi-Fi can send our logs better than anyone else can. Yeah, I don't think that was Picard's concern. I'm going to help you out a little bit, because this is such a cop-out. But so Beverly suddenly has this big knowledge of metaphasic shielding and how that is going to help the Enterprise, and that will protect it from the sun and stuff. That requires knowledge from a different episode. So there is another Beverly-centric episode where we discover that she has an interest in metaphasic shielding, and she invites all of these scientists that are going to experiment on this new type of shielding. And there's a whole episode dedicated to this special shielding that will allow ships to travel right up next to the sun. So this is directly referring back to that episode. So that's why Beverly specifically has all of that knowledge, but it's still, even that in and of itself is like, you are a medical, do you know how much medicine you have to brush up on and how much studying it takes to be a doctor? You don't also have time to study physics. Like, you have so many different species you have to like know and research and just constantly studying. I doubt you would be also looking up metaphasic shielding, but
I appreciate that you know that, because for me, this solution was pulled out of nowhere. And I think it would have been beneficial for them to add just a couple of more words into the sentence and be like, I remember this happening. Maybe it was there, but I was just like, what the fuck? Maybe it was
something
there.
That's even more confusing, because she talks to Barnaby and says that, can you access Geordie's program on metaphasic shielding? And he's like, yeah, I remember the chief engineer was working on that. Instead of mentioning Geordie, just say last year we had a group of scientists on board and we were working with metaphasic shielding. But again, I think there was a part of them that was just like, I don't want to alienate people that haven't seen that episode. So
but instead,
let it work both ways.
Instead, I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But we'll get
Why
to
would
that,
Beverly
I
know
suppose.
this?
That actually helps me to kind of know maybe my sins are a little bit unfounded. But it's still,
I mean, I would still sin it, because that episode it's referring to is plucked out of fucking nowhere. Like, why would Beverly be invested in this shielding? Just because you're referencing that doesn't mean the thing you're referencing made sense. So it's a leap regardless. What is fun is that Barnaby is played by the same actor that plays one of the scientists in that episode.
Oh, wait.
But he's an alien. So he's in all of like the alien prosthetics and stuff.
So the actor was there, but not the character.
Not the character, exactly. So for the longest time, I'm like, why does metaphasic shielding and this actor seem so familiar? And like, it's, if you compare him and his alien version, it looks, obviously they look similar, but I don't know if that was deliberate. Maybe like they cast him and was like, that's the end of the story. That's how we get Beverly out of it, because this actor was in that episode.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of fun that they recycle their actors.
Yeah.
And they give him a new chance to kind of come in and do something. He got to play a dick in this episode, and he did great, because I hated him.
He's not
I didn't hate him.
Is he a dick?
He was annoying. Yeah, he
I
was a
suppose
dick.
I'd better make sure my calculations are correct, Ensign. But she does get a nice like snap back at the
Tate
end.
got this nice sting at the end
Yeah, she
about like
did.
that was a fun back and forth, a
Yeah.
dynamic that I wish we could explore. But we'll get to the sins.
They would have all of the
later.
feisty, passionate stuff going on.
Are you doing
Dex.
like sexy fanfic right now? My God, we don't have time for that. We're doing a show. Calm yourself down.
The eye wobbles that like Barnaby had. Yeah. What else did I love about this episode? It's made me appreciate Picard even more because Lore, like doing his speech at the beginning when he's like, the reign of biological life forms is coming to an end. It informs. Obviously, I don't think they were meaning to do this back then because they don't really explore this cybernetic uprising thing much more until we get to Picard 30 years later. But it's so important in Picard that everyone is terrified of that now. Of exactly what Lore is saying in this episode is what everyone is scared of during Picard. And this mistrust of artificial life and AI and androids is way more on everyone's radar, and it's cool to see the seeds of it starting here.
Well, what a great episode. Anything else that you can think of? Like what other things did you like? Because I wrote down I wrote down some stuff that just as the plot was going through. I think like if I understand correctly, like Lore had figured out a way to use the emotion chip to be able to broadcast a frequency that disrupted the Borg emotion and also specifically the Data's emotion.
So what I think,
or did he manipulate? He manipulated the Borg to follow him, which was separate from this chip emitter.
It's totally different, yeah, because Lore has created a little LAN party. So he's like networked together all of these Borg using his technology and using his knowledge and made a collective. But because he's still experimenting, a couple of the Borg can drift off and separate themselves from that. But there are punishments if you do that. And a lot of them want to be in that collective. They want that direction, and because it's all they know, they want to be told what to do. And then the feelings are, that's just to control Data. So he's just feeding him the emotions he wants to. It's emotional manipulation, but a very literal interpretation. So instead of having to use words to get emotions out of him, he can literally just make Data feel whatever he wants to feel.
Not only through his own chip, but through the chip that he gave the Borg.
Did he give the Borg a chip?
Yeah, remember it was on that guy's arm and he pushed the little thingy and then like
that's the thing that took away his emotion, his ethical programming.
Okay.
I think they never fully explain it, but
it's confusing is what it is. But I think I followed along well enough. Go ahead.
I think one of the themes I really love is this, and the Undiscovered Country does this as well. The human need to make everyone else human. So it's like in humanity's way is the best way. And the Borg don't have a great what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation, but they're being led. They're being led by a hive mind. And just because we don't like what they're doing, it doesn't mean that individuality is the right thing for them. So Picard trying to force individuality on the Borg fucked them up, and it created all kinds of problems. And I just like exploring that thing that maybe a collective is good for some people. Maybe that's how the Borg are going to function. Maybe individuality isn't the right thing.
Religion. Ding.
Ding. And Hugh just saying like, we can be individuals and work together as a team. We're still going to keep some elements of the collective. We can't all just be individuals because it's what necessarily works for humans. So there's so many interesting themes that are being explored in this episode.
Yeah. I do want to say
join cults.
Yeah, for real. I do want to say also that there was this really fucking cool shot when Lore is being turned off. So Data stuns him, Lore falls over, and the shot is from underneath. So it's like you can see Lore's head, all of his facial features hanging over the chair, and like we're underneath him looking up. And then in the background is, Data, who has opened up Lore's skull and is, shutting him down or whatever. And they're having this last kind of exchange of words. And it's a really cool, like cinematography wise, a very nice shot. But then also you get to see Lore's eyes fade out, and it's so fucking freaky because, and I don't know, did they do that recently and re-release it?
It's from the beginning. And the reason I remember is that I have a book called The Nitpicker's Guide to Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I'm sorry. Could you just hold on for 1 second and think about your job now?
Oh yeah, no. Have I got this?
Were you like born for this or something? There we go. Never doubt. Some people are just destined for it. Oh my god.
Phil Farrand, The Nitpicker's Guide to Next Generation Trekkers Volume 2. And my dad got this in the early 90s. I have been reading it for as long as I can remember. It is, what's the edition on here? 1995. This version came out. It is battered, it is worn, it is used. And he would do a great synopsis of each episode, and then do all of the content. He would break down the nitpicks into continuity errors, plot holes, and then just kind of what the fuck was going on here? This doesn't make any sense. And I could do a podcast just with this book. And at the end of each entry, he would do a sin removal. So he would do one thing that he loved about the episode that was excellent. And for Descent Part 2, he says he always loved how the lights in Lore's eye disappeared, how the pupils disappeared. And I didn't notice until he pointed it out. And I immediately watched the episode and was like, oh, holy shit, that's so cool. But yeah, I would read the episode and then watch the episode and see if I could catch the continuity errors as well. So yeah, without realizing, I was nitpicking from the age of 8.
It makes so much sense, honestly.
So much sense. I don't know what we were talking about there. Oh yeah, Lore's
eyes. Yeah. So I'm watching it and I'm just like, this is crazy because of course, we keep talking about how amazing this actor is. Holy shit, Brent Spiner.
Oh, it's Brent Spiner doing 2 parts again. So good.
It's so good because then he's also doing multiple shots, looking in different angles, resetting, coming back in different costume. It's fantastic. Anyway, so I'm watching how he's deciding to relax his face but also be android at the same time. I feel like as a human we would just relax and all of our tissue would just fall forward because it's just relaxed because there's nothing holding it in place anymore. There's no muscles activated anymore. So if we're leaning over a chair, our lips would just poof together or something. But Brent is going, I'm not human, I'm android, so I'm still this robot shape, but still showing that there's no activity going on. And I'm just this is really, really good. And then all of a sudden, just the eyes stay the same color, but just the pupil, just the black pupil goes away and just goes zip. So and it only lasts for a split second. And I was like, oh, oh my God,
so
that
great.
was fucking cool. It was really cool.
Whoever thought of that, it's a beautiful touch because usually do the stereotypical thing of closing the eyelids over a corpse or something. But yeah, this is a robot. So his eyes just disappear. Oh, I love it. It's a great shot. Great shot.
And even though it's a little sinful, I also like the idea that Data knows that at the time that he's shutting Lore down, he believes that this is the end of his emotion, his potential to have any emotion is done at this point. Yeah. And so he still chooses to shut Lore down. So that was also really good.
It's a big moment, and it's shutting down the only other him that he knows. It's the only other of his species that he knows. It must be so hard to have to give up on Lore. And I guess the final straw is you actually took control of me this time.
Yeah.
And you're working with the Borg. That's about as bad as it gets. This is this is big trouble.
And putting Picard and Geordi in front of him to kill,
Yeah.
There was a cool shootout in this one as well. Lore sort of buying time before he shuts off Data's emotion, which distracts Data and then turns to shoot but Data gets there first. That was kind of a cool shootout.
Quick draw. I love that. I do want to know how Riker and Worf knew which Borg they were shooting, because some of them were Hughes Borg and some of them were Law's Borg. So
And
they're
it's not
just
like they were wearing different
blanket
clothes or
fire.
something. Yeah.
No, they're all pretty much Borg. That's amazing. I think the last big thing I had was I think I like this episode a lot because it shows different characteristics in the Borg. So you get I can't remember his name, but the anxious Borg that is really lost and is disconnected from the hive, and Law has to convince him to reconnect to Croesus. And he's just like this little puppy
Yeah.
Borg that's just like scared and doesn't know what to do, and he's just like not your stereotypical scary monster. Humanizing the Borg is a double-edged sword because it can take away some of their scariness. The more you understand something, the less scary it is. But it's hard to resist that wanting to dive in more and just make them more than just the robots that kill everyone.
And if you're going to do it, this is a good way to do it, where you show that Lore had been experimenting with these living beings, and to show, I mean, it was, there's some disturbing stuff to think about in this episode, and certainly seeing the Borg lobotomized, essentially, that's their life now.
Oh, that's such a creepy shot. The two that are on the floor just twitching about, and
and they're still alive, and you know, so if you're going to try to humanize the Borg, using Lore to do it is a really interesting kind of moment to bring that next round of story kind of up, because we've got this horrible group of like bad guys, the Borg, and humanizing them, or making them, I say humanize, but you know, like making them us be empathetic towards them. That's probably the better way to say that.
Yeah,
it's tricky to do, and I think that scene of the Borg being confused and having to let other voices back into his mind again showed individuality on that level. And then, of course, just them wanting to fight back against something and not be manipulated to the point that they were just parts to be experimented on.
Yeah.
So I thought that they did a good job.
I think so as well. And it kind of puts Law on like in the top trumps thing of like who would win, Law versus the Borg. It's Law because he has less morals. Like he doesn't give any shits.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And
he's a scary guy.
Is slightly different. He's really scary. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Well, do you have anything else? My last thought was, oh my goodness, the wires that come out of Geordie's head creeped me the fuck out as a kid. Like the little spaghetti that comes out of his forehead just gave me the wigs. Oh, it still does today. Like just the special effect, not even special effects. All it is they glue it on, and then it's
the little wire, the little wiggly wire.
The little wiggly wire. It looks like it's coming out of his brain. It's not. I know that. I know it's not. I know it's pretend. I know we're acting, but it's still. I feel like it's happening because it's like it indents the skin on his head, and I'm like, it's fucking in there. LeVar Burton was lobotomized to do this episode, and it just wigs me out. Oh,
yeah, or the fucking fingernails.
Yeah, no, that's fine. He's a robot.
No, that's so not. Ugh.
Not okay. And I did notice that Riker's head is always leaning to the left.
You're welcome.
Like when he's talking to Hugh, he's just like, "I'm sorry, you're not happy to see us." And I'm like, straighten up, my dude.
Yeah, he has a real tight like lat or something. It's too late. He's actually, hopefully, he has massage therapists and maybe some PT. Maybe just like some spa days.
Like Beverly, just like whenever Beverly sees him, just like kind of cracks his neck. It's like, right, what were you here for? Amazing. Anything else before we move on?
Nope. I think I'm ready to send the shit out of this episode.
Let's do it. Okay, with that, it's time to head to engineering for Reese Instance is futile. Battle stations, everyone. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains and remind ourselves that no TV shows without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Kick us off, Ambassador.
Oh, man.
Red alert.
So this is a not really, we have sins and then we have like not really sins, but in this episode, they give us like the whole backstory to last episode, and then we start off and we're inside this chamber where everyone's meeting, and it's Lore standing at the top of the dais, and he's all powerful and everything. And his first, I think he says something like, what do you think of my followers, Picard? But he is wearing the most ridiculous tracksuit.
What are you talking about?
With like fake
Shoulder
abs
pads?
and shoulder pads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all I want to do is do a sin. Like, no. The first question is like, what do you think of my clothing? What do you think of my outfit? What do you think of my jumpsuit? Like, just something, because it is so silly.
So over the top.
You know what it is. It's probably the lower part of what the Borg wear to beef them
100%,
out.
100%.
And so somehow he's found a Borg tracksuit and he's just wearing it. And visually,
tailoring is important.
Yeah, visually it indicates that he's like superior. Visually, it's great. Like I absolutely appreciate the costuming, but to me, it looks like, you know how when you watch a superhero show and they're wearing their superhero costume and they just like the costume is what shows their muscles because it's just built into their costume.
Yeah, Superman. The Superman abs. Yeah.
This was that for Lore.
It works for me because he is evil. Like, he's so over the top. He is
ego.
He's a maniacal android. His programming has gone wrong. He has been programmed by a human. So this is just how his brain works. Like, it's not practical. It's just, yes, I'm above you. Look at my polystyrene abs.
That's a first one. I almost laughed at the sight of it.
But it's so great. I always laugh at so there's one Borg in this episode who has the same like 8-pack ab thing, but it's like wobbly and it's disconnected from the rest of his uniform. And like, are the Borg that vain that they need to show off their like pretend abs? It's amazing. But yeah, we would sin that. My biggest sin, and this is a genuine sin for the episode, is, man, does Lore historically have some outstandingly phenomenal, stellar good luck. Like, he bumps into the crystal snowflake who like brings him to deliverance. He bumps into the Pakleds who he then cons into stealing their ship. And now there is the only abandoned Borg ship in the galaxy that we know of. He just so happens to bump into them when they're most in need of help and subjugates them and creates a little cult of Lore. The people he bumps into is so freaking lucky for one man.
Yep, 100%.
It's big.
Lore's adventure, convenient. Lore adventure is convenient. Like,
yeah,
you're not wrong.
Lore bumps into something that he needs. Cliche. Yeah.
I think I would sin. My next one would be Riker and Worf getting captured by the Borg. I just feel
by
like
the right Borg.
The right Borg, yes, of course. But I feel like they're not in deeply wooded area and it's daylight. How do they not see that they're within 6 footsteps of,
especially Worf? He's a hunter. Yeah, Worf is a hunter.
It was ridiculous. It's to move the plot along. I know that, you know that, but it's like, oh no, a Borg in these sparse trees.
Like these clunky individuals that go, you can literally hear the gyros moving when they are stationary, let alone when they're walking.
Every time that they blink, it's like,
yeah, just get some oil. It's amazing. This could be applied to so many episodes, but maybe this would be a cliche sin. Maybe it would just be, once again, we're sinning this, but it's the fact that anything on the Enterprise has to be done manually when it comes to security. So when the Enterprise is in orbit and the Borg ship arrives, Beverly says, like, on my mark, raise the shields. We'll do this at the last possible second because we need to beam up as many people as possible. And she's like, 3, 2, 1, mark. And then Tate is like, okay, shields up. Then a torpedo fires. The reason you know that the ship is going to be fired upon is because the Enterprise is telling you that. So if the Enterprise can tell the humans, which then allows the humans to make the decision to raise the shields, then as soon as like that weapon powers up, transporters off, shields up. There should not be a human that has to say shields up. I'm saying that should be automated. The ship should know I'm in danger. Stop transporting, shields up. Like, don't leave that down to 3, 2, 1 mark. Like, no human error. What if Tate fumbled and didn't press the right button? Like, this ship is.
I'm just saying, I've been reading this book since I was 8 years old.
I'm just saying, this book here, it's a good book. It tells you shit. I can't get my computer to stop logging me out of things. Like, I just wouldn't trust humans to work the Enterprise in a life or death situation when the computer is there to help.
Yeah.
It's a big one for me.
I hear that. You're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
I would sin the moment when they say they're preparing to fire, and then within a tenth of a second they're hit. So what you meant to say was they have already fired and it's coming at us, and now because there was but again, we're at the end of it where they're just like moving the plot along, like they're just clipping through. So
that's one of my biggest sins, is how quickly we get wrapped up in this episode all at the same time. Is like, get rid of the Borg ship, get rid of the Borg, Hughes here, Data's here, Law's gone, beam them up, get them out of here, we're fine. Like, they wrap this stuff up so quick, but we know they're trying to do a lot. Let's dig into Beverly, because we love seeing her on the bridge. We love to see it. We love seeing the new crew. There is still no reason for the entire crew to be down on the planet. The chief medical officer should, in theory, not also have all of the, like, the first line she says is, we've got to find a way to break through the electromagnetic scanning field things. It's like, she's not qualified to know that. Like, I get the cross training must be outstanding, and she must have to do a certain amount of hours of command training and engineering training.
Yeah.
But my goodness, she's like, it's as if she's been doing this all the time. And maybe one of the doctors also doubles up, but the chief medical officer, she has her own staff. She has so many responsibilities. She's writing papers. She used to be the head of Starfleet Medical. Like, there is so much shit going on.
I mean, you trust her with it, though. You trust her.
I trust her because it's the story. But I'm kind of.
I trust her.
No, I do completely trust her. But
I don't trust her. That was a lie.
I trust her.
She flew under the fucking sun, Ian.
Well, there's that other episode in season 6 with the metaphasic shielding that explains that.
We talked about that. Okay.
But yeah, it's a lot, and linked to that is Tate is like looking after security. The more senior security officer comes in. Tate's about to leave, and Beverly just say, "No, Tate, I need a science officer." I'm like, "What? You're cross-trained as well? So what are you? Are you tactical? Are you science? Why are you suddenly jumping into the science station? You've only been here for 6 weeks.
Maybe
is she really the most qualified science? What about the person that's been on the Enterprise for 4 years, waiting to get back to their seat? And Tate's just like, nah, it's mine now. Fuck you.
Nah, you're fun. I like your attitude. I think the sin would be thinking that humans have this much space in their brains for information.
Exactly. We do not have enough RAM to know all of that at all.
We do not.
It's definitely the biggest sin, but it's one of those sins that I wouldn't change. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I think I would probably sin. Like, I was going to sin something. I don't know that I would anymore because of our conversation about this whole phasic thing existing before this episode. But there's this moment when she's like, well, I have a student thesis. Tate's like, I have a student thesis about how if we fire into the sun, it'll make a flare. And if we aim it the right way, then that flare will take out the Borg ship. By the way, Enterprise flying in the sun looked fucking cool. Forgot to mention that earlier.
Of that is beautiful.
Looked so fucking cool.
Pretty.
I love that we're seeing something unique like this. And then we're seeing the sun flare, and we're seeing a Borg ship blow up. But we're just like, I have this student thesis about it. I happened to study the sun or whatever when I was in school. Of course she did.
Tactical school.
So it's just like, okay. And we're clipping along. We're at the end of this. We're clipping along. Don't ask questions. And they're sitting in the sun having this conversation. But they're sitting in the sun based on another theory that's only barely been put into practice already. And now they're like, well, we can't just do things without them having been done. I'm like, you're literally sitting in the sun based on another experiment. So you're so up your own ass about this.
Yeah.
The plot chooses what moments it's like, oh, this is really scary. The first potential thing that's kind of a theory is going to work,
Mhm.
but the second one, while you're inside the first one,
Yeah.
that's the one you should be worried
You can
about.
only believe in one impossible thing before breakfast. That number 2 is it's just too far. It's unbelievable. Got to raise those stakes. What I love about that moment is that they went to so much effort thinking that we needed to know that Tate learnt about this at school, like her thesis, as if they hadn't said that we wouldn't believe it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
she could have an inside knowledge of how like a Romulan cloaking device works and use that to escape. And I would have bought that just as much. The thesis didn't sell anything to me here, guys. This is all MacGuffin to get you out of the to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, sometimes when I cook and the pan is hot and I throw water on it, it spouts up. So we're by a hot sun. So let's throw some water something in there and see if something spouts up. Like I could come up with that.
At the minute, I believe that all of you people are intelligent beyond belief. I don't need to know that this was your thesis. It actually annoys me more because I'm like, what if it hadn't been her thesis? Does that mean she doesn't come up with the idea and they're fucked?
Potentially. Or if Beverly hadn't attended that one random thing about phasic, shields or whatever. Then what happens? They come up with something else, which would have been fine. This was a fun one. I would also send that moment though when the Beverly sets the new course and Tate's like, "Sir, that heading takes us directly into the sun." Dun dun dun. And
damn it, you heard me, Tate.
I want the sin to be like, well, yeah, we all know that, because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So I would want to send something like when in these shows the character says do this heading and then the person that's doing their job tells us the dumb people at home why that's important. There's just this sort of like dialogue that's directly to us. Yeah. And I probably want to send that if I could somehow, some way.
I think so.
Yeah.
I got 2 problems with the prisoner situation.
Go for it.
No, 3 problems with the prisoner situation.
Go for it.
1, I'm amazed that cell isn't bugged. And while LaForge and Picard are like chipping in and trying to decide the Kedion pulse and how they're going to do it and how this will undermine Picard, like how this will undermine Lore, there isn't even a Borg guard that is like listening in. There's no listening device. There's nothing. They are just, don't keep your prisoners in the same fucking room to begin with. Like, stop doing that. It's such a cliche.
Yeah. Yep. Go on.
I carry
What's
on with my prison
one? Yeah.
My next
do
one.
Do a 1, 2, 3 punch.
I can't believe that the Borg, who has the galaxy's knowledge in his brain, hasn't heard of the old sick prisoner joke or like maneuver where the prisoner pretends to be sick. The guard comes in and they get knocked out because they're not really sick.
They're like little babies.
Little baby Borg, they're just fell for their drink.
And then in that moment, Picard just happens to reach out and grab the one chip that's needed to reset data.
That's my third sin. I'm like, you eyeballed that shit? You're like, oh yeah, this nondescript plate looks like a transponder fluxer. Of course it is.
Are we supposed to believe that it's because he used to be Borg?
They don't say that. I think that's a reach. I think that anything he grabbed from the fact that it's removable is the sin. Like the fact that it isn't built into his brain, the fact that it is a part that can be easily removed without damaging it and then reprogrammed is all of the convenience. But it's fun. That's my 1, 2, 3 punch for the prison situation.
I like it. I think just on quick glance, I don't have a ton more. But one thing I hate, I think maybe the biggest sin for me, the more I think about it, the biggest sin for me is that this episode doesn't circle back to Beverly as captain and give
like a handoff or like a well done Beverly or
she's essentially critical in saving the entire crew from death potential death. I mean, I think the idea in her mind was I have to go back because the Borg are there. So they probably would have been able to like message her and be like, hey, we took care of ourselves. She really didn't do anything, did she? Like, besides getting people off of the planet, Beverly's actions didn't do much more. I guess she destroyed all the Borg from coming down.
She rescued the ship. I mean, she rescued the people. Like, there's 1,000 people that she's rescued. Like, her mission was beam up as many people as you can, get the Enterprise back to Federation space. She actually disobeyed her orders.
She disobeyed the order, but then also when she disobeyed, it didn't directly impact the solution on the planet because Worf Worf and Riker used Hughes and crew to get back in, and they were already solving the problem from the inside. So she didn't actually give the crew any buff to what they were doing. She was just closer by when they would have pinged her to come back and get them.
Yeah, she was the rescue team and had to figure out how to rescue them. So she doesn't know what's going on. She's just trying to figure out a way to get everybody off of the planet. And the Borg ship is the obstacle.
So the Borg ship. So she destroys the Borg ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Okay. But anyways, what the show missed for me was it's like wrapping up and you hear Picard's voice going, Geordi is in the capable hands of Dr. Crusher, recovering. Where is that moment when it's like, you flew into the sun, you destroyed an entire ship of Borg that were people, not bad Borg, they were people.
Yeah.
Didn't actually influence the team at all, but kind of like, good job, Beverly. Like you did a great job. Maybe
that's her job. You don't need to be complimented for the job that you're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
That's satisfaction in and of itself.
Okay. All right.
I've just realized. Sorry, carry on.
No, go on. It's fine.
I've just realized that this book doesn't contain season 7.
So it's a different book.
No. It has Descent. So I must have just invented that memory myself. It's like Descent Part 2 isn't in this book. So there must be a Part 2 that is back at home or something. But I'm sure I remember him saying.
Well, I'm sure there's a volume 3. You probably read volume 3.
Yeah, it must have been. Anyway, I could get stuck in this book for another few days. Anything else, Ambassador? I am pretty much finished.
I'm pretty much done too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great 2-parter. Like, overall, what's your thoughts and feelings about Lore's arc now that you've watched all of the Lore episodes?
I think this would be a series that you would recommend to somebody who's wanting to kind of see the more serious acting chops of this show. Somebody who has an understanding of the Borg and why they're terrifying. So I wouldn't send someone to this if they didn't understand the Borg stuff. But I don't think you need a lot of other to enjoy Descent. Maybe we should have watched the episode about those phase shields potentially.
The metaphasic shielding. But this is what I like. We could have watched all of the Borg episodes, the Hugh episode, the metaphasic shielding episode.
Yeah.
There is so many episodes to watch before you watch this one.
I recommend TNG hands down. I just think it's a really fun sci-fi show that as it progresses, the crew understands what they're doing. But peppering back and forth into the earlier seasons when they're not so sure about their character is a delight. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of finding that when people ask me what episodes to recommend, I'm doing it more based on like, well, what do you like to watch? Do you like to watch comedy?
Always.
Do you like to watch? Yes. And this is more of those, like, what's your favorite character? And if mine was Data, and I'm learning about Data's history and kind of what makes him so unique and his like arc to becoming human, because I'm still trying to guess what we're doing here, by the way, like in the season of Captain's Pod. This is crucial. This is a crucial moment for Data to have experiences where he's struggling with understanding like who he is. that beautiful moment between he and Geordi when Geordi's talking about walking along the bottom of the water and it took 2 weeks to kind of get him out. The stories that we can't see, but that they still
Yeah.
have because of all of their adventures together. And Data is reconciling and wrestling with emotion versus ethics. There's just a lot to really think about in these episodes. If you want to watch it superficially as an episode in the background, it's got a lot of fun and adventure, and it clips along fast enough. I don't think there's a lot of room to get bored. And every time you glance up at the scene, there's probably a different angle being shown, either the prisoner, or there's a ship, or there's just like a feast for the eyes on that more serious tone. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love Law. He's one of my favorite bad guys. He's just so maniacal and unhinged whenever you see him. He's always like sarcastic and funny and then brutal.
Lore?
And Law, yeah,
Yeah,
and just
he is
scary. Like,
he is one of the scariest bad guys I remember watching. Like, he is so fucking scary. That moment when Data goes out to talk to him and Laura realizes that there's something off about Data, like he doesn't realize his ethical chip's been turned back on, and he's like, I don't know, brother, And Laura removes the emotion. Data reacts to that sudden lack, and then Laura gives it back to him and says, aren't you going to say thank you?
Oh, it's so
what
fucked
a
up.
manipulative fucking dick.
Say
like,
thank
he's
you for the
so
punishment.
Twisted. He's one of the most twisted characters that I remember seeing encapsulated inside of my happy Star Trek universe. I'm glad he's not there all the time, because he would destroy the world.
Oh, for sure. He is the lack of morals, and that's a dangerous story device to use, because just having somebody that is pure evil and a lack of morals isn't altogether that interesting, because it's like, okay, this is evil. This is easy, they're evil. The way Law works is because we have a good version of Law on screen that he's battling with in Data the whole time. So
it's
clever.
So
I love it.
Powerful. It's such a great character. The two of them together are really, really powerful. And the idea of the twin, that we get to see that repeated in Picard, it's just, it makes me appreciate Picard even more.
Yes.
When we started Captain's Pod, we started with Picard because it was my reintroduction to Star Trek. So for those of new listeners or new watchers, this began almost exactly a year ago, going, hey, I love Star Trek so much, and there's this new show coming out and your favorite character is in it. Let's do a podcast and go through every episode. And suddenly it's like, now we have the time to go back and watch these episodes that make Picard sing even more. And it's really fucking cool. I'm having such a great time, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it too. Thank you for all of your 5-star reviews and your on iTunes. We just actually came back across those recently, and we get comments from people who don't even watch Star Trek. They just like listening to us talk about Star Trek, and we just have such a fun fan base of people, and we're really, really grateful for you to download the podcast every single week and join us if you can for the live tapings on Fridays. And I don't know, it's just like, it feels like as somebody who enjoyed Star Trek so much when I was younger, to not only find another thing I really actually enjoy watching, but to find another group of fans that I overlap a shared joy with is not something I've really experienced like this before. And it's addictive. It's why I come to the microphone every week.
Yeah, so it's super fun.
Thank you, Captain.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do it. Couldn't do it without the lovely crew of this enterprise, everyone listening at home and watching on YouTube and Twitch as well. We love you people so much. And that leads quite nicely onto, as this episode lands in 2 days, on Thursday, the 22nd of December, will be our 1-year anniversary of our first episode coming up. So just as a little mini celebration, we'll be live on YouTube and Twitch at about 12 o'clock Central to play some video games and just have a chat and connect with you guys. So if you can come and join us the 22nd of December, that would be really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
We'll hang out and
super
talk
casual.
And super chill out. But yes, anything else, Ambassador, or can I send the lovely crew on their way.
Oh, you can send the crew on the way. Go ahead, take a rest.
You've earned it, guys. You flew us into the sun and back. Right. Well, we love you all very, very much. Thank you for listening. And it is I love you, brother. From me.
And it's I'm ready to eradicate your existing brain cells. From me.
Just turn up. And live long and prosper.
Yay.
Hi, everyone. We are back.
Hi, live people. Don't say goodbye to us because we're not actually leaving just yet. Hi, Jolly Grim Jimmy.
Jolly Grim Jimmy. Jump.
That was fun. That was a great recording. We have so many of your comments to get through. Holy shit, you guys have so much fun stuff to say during our live recording. Let's start with this one from Jagged, who says, Ian, is that communicator a Bluetooth one, or is it just for looks?
No, just looks. This is just my lovely Voyager little badge. It's just a metal one. It's not not a real Bluetooth one, I'm afraid. That's like £90. It's so expensive. But yeah.
Maybe I've been looking at expensive Star Trek gear.
Oh my goodness, no.
I'm like, I kind of want clothes.
Do it.
No,
Get the
too
clothes.
Expensive. It's too expensive.
Do it.
If we go to a convention, if we decide as a podcast to go to a convention, I would consider it.
Okay, do.
Question for instance, I was very surprised I didn't have the lieutenant on the bridge eating an apple while taking orders from Berkeley.
Barnaby, yeah. In case we didn't realize he was an asshole, they replicated an apple for Barnaby.
I forgot one of my sins, which was that like Barnaby's like, she did it, like super excited whenever Tate got it. Yeah. And then he kind of collects himself, but he doesn't actually turn to her and say good job.
No,
because
that's
he's
enough.
A fucking asshole.
That's because you should be happy with the job that you did. You shouldn't need extrinsic motivators or affirmations.
Not all of us are like you. Some of us like to have motivational conversations.
No, I do as well. I'm just saying.
Let's go to this one. Lieutenant Barnaby, not a bad guy character really, but played by an actor who, in my opinion, just has a smarmy, prickish countenance.
Josh.
In German, there's a slang word. Here's how to pronounce it. Backpfeifengesicht. A face made for punching is what that means, and it describes Lieutenant Barnaby. That's brutal. That is fucking brutal.
That is brutal. Backpfeifengesicht.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got some German in me. That is very harsh. I love that actor. Josh, you're a bad human.
During the conversations about Picard and Hugh during the show, Jagged said, I feel like this is one of those dark, dirty secrets that Picard has in his closet. He deactivated Lore, took him apart, and the Enterprise covered it up.
Mm-hmm. I think that all of like season 7 of Lower Decks should be dedicated to like Lower Decks, Picard's dirty closet, and the entire season is just them picking up the pieces of everything Picard has left behind. He just brushed his hands off and said, yep, some other dickhead will pick that up.
Two-parter question, but I think I forgot the second part of this one, so sorry for that. Best and worst two-parter outside of TNG. It's all
best
one
and worst. Yeah.
Outside
of TNG? Oh my goodness.
God.
The best for me.
The Hobbit.
Rush Hour part 1 and part 2. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. This is why androids are banned from the developed planets in the Picard show timeline. This was a comment when we were talking about the dangers of androids, I believe.
I mean, yes. Not directly, but it's this kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Androids be dangerous, people.
Josh says, do we all have Siri or Alexa? Do we treat them as if they have sentience or choice or even gratitude?
Yep, I say thank you to my Google.
I do say thank you. Not always.
But also, it's different as well, because they are not AI. They are just their voices. They're not doing much different.
When we were talking about the novel, Josh says, speaking of non-canon novels, there is a TOS book called Doctor's Orders, which plays out a scenario where Dr. McCoy ends up in charge of the Enterprise.
Oh, man, they never did that in like an episode on TV. I would love that, but reading. But I love McCoy. He's so great.
Link thinks I should take over as captain for a day.
Nope. Do you want to host an episode? You host an episode.
It's
You'd
too
have to
late.
pick-
You said no.
That's it. That idea is dead. You'd have to pick one you could remember, though, and guide me through it.
There's no guiding you through. You just
Yeah, no, I would have seen it.
you can't shut that part of your brain down. I'd have to
I'll
do
pretend.
something completely unexpected.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You'd have to take me through an episode of Survivor or The Challenge or something. Captain Squad does The Challenge.
Do you have those books as well?
No, this is the only one I have. I mean, I must have volume 3 somewhere, but yeah. Oh, that's so harsh. So Josh offered to bring the books to Sin Week for me to read, but then immediately retracted it because I said Robit.
And that's the end of that one.
That's how you say it.
He also says, now I
Um,
want to talk about Phil Farron's Nitpickers Guides. They are entertaining, certainly, but they are also full of continuity errors and speculative or argumentative plot problems. So
Mhm.
not exactly a CinemaSins type of thing. But it might have influenced this
Yeah.
this man.
We're less on the continuity side, but we definitely we definitely get into the plot stuff. But yeah, we try to be not as argumentative as possible. We try to be as generous as possible and stick to the cliches and stuff. But I would love to speak to Phil Farron about his books. I know that he was starting a Star Wars version of it, but then Lucas kind of, if I remember rightly, they sent him a cease and desist order and they cancelled the books. And yeah, I don't think he's made any since. But I do know, not that I've stalked the man, that he lives in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it'd be cool to reach out and actually get him on the show. That would be
What
really
if we
fun.
went to visit and had sat
He
down for
just
tea?
turned up on his
I mean,
doorstep?
reached out to him first. We're not
Yeah.
those people, Ian.
Hi,
My
I've got your
God.
book. Can you sign this book from 27 years ago?
He probably
That's
would.
amazing.
Star Trek TV for the post show in Enterprise. What is the warp core called?
Warp reactor? I think back in the day it's called the reactor. The reactor
What do you mean,
core?
the warp core called? It's called
you
the
know,
warp core.
the vroom, 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 vroom. They didn't call it that in TOS. I know it was the reactor core in the original series. I
see the question now. I
I
understand.
think it's the same in Enterprise. We'll see if JCD can confirm that. I hope so.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Here's a sin from
Damn
Jagged.
straight.
Episode of TNG rips off the scene from Star Trek Insurrection where Data walks underwater and Ops
Deny.
will only tell us about it. I'm sorry, Data isn't capitalized in that, and I just read it as Data. It's not my fault.
So I nearly mentioned this. In Insurrection, they all fall into a big lake of water, and then Data inflates a little bit, and then his chest gets a little bit bigger, and he just says, "In case of a water landing, I've been designed to be used as a flotation device." So it kind of undermines what he says here. I'm guessing that between here and Insurrection, he had a flotation device added to his body.
For this issue, exactly, because it took 2 weeks to get all the water out, and they don't want to have that
Exactly.
kind of time down again.
Exactly. I think they just added it in post that.
Enterprise's official name is the Gravimetric Field Displacement Manifold. That's
I
fucking stupid.
I had no idea of that. It's also not what it does, but still, I don't think that's what it does. Anyway, science, how does it work?
Here's an observation from Jagged during the show. Ian, the episode is about what happens when technology has sentience and goes bad, and you're saying you think that they should give that power to the ship and the shields?
No, it's input and output. It's not. You can do that without having sentience. I can set in my thermostat, if I had one, I could set it. Hey, when it's 23 degrees, turn the heating on or whatever, or then it's input. So when the ship detects a buildup of energy, then it puts the shields up. So that doesn't require thinking. That's just a set of parameters that makes one thing happen in a certain environment.
There you go.
Ha! Take that,
He
you
has his
gravimetric
reasons,
distortion,
okay?
and
God.
shove it. Yeah.
Also, send more his way. I like having to have him defend himself by more brilliant minds than mine. Whoa!
What?
That was inappropriate,
Rude.
Mr. Whittington.
Rude.
Question: if Data
Captain.
is exposed to water, does he get put in a bag of rice to dry
I hope
out.
so. Yes, I hope so.
I want to see that episode where it's
I
like
imagine.
he's just, you go in and he's in a tub just filled with rice, like having spa days. So we've got like the little cucumbers over his eyes.
Amazing.
Here's a question from Jagged. It says, does it ever bother you that all the Dr. Soong ancestors or relatives are always more like Lore and none of them are like Data? It bugs me because you would think they might try to give them some Data characteristics.
So, the Sung that turns up in Enterprise, he's not evil. They're all misguided. So they're all just like geniuses that are so determined to progress science and to progress the next steps of humanity. And then that genius comes with some megalomaniacal ego stuff. And Data was deliberately programmed to be more of a child and to be more naive. But yeah, I get what you mean. I think maybe it comes down to more human nature, sadly, which is when we get greedy, even intellectually greedy, it can lead to missing the point of what we're doing. And Lore is the opposite end of that spectrum. I don't think Dr. Sung is evil either. His inventions got away from him a bit.
So like the Dr. Soong style character or ancestor that I came across in Picard, for example, another kind of ego scientist that didn't really see the aliveness of what he was creating. Because the twins that he created were after so many failed experiments, and so that portrayed this Dr. Soong type character as somebody who had been through so much failure as a scientist that the sadness of kind of what he's gone through sort of shut him down emotionally. He was very protective of the two that survived, I know, but
yeah,
but still kind of saw more as a possession and ownership of a thing than a person that needed to know like the full truth.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying about being a little bit more like Lore, because the Dr. Soong character in Picard certainly kind of had that more mad scientist vibe, or that ego vibe that Lore has.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting too, because I wonder if the idea is that without emotion, Data is the best of us. You know?
Oh man, yep. It's very possible, yeah.
Because I don't know if it's intentional, but it's certainly something that that question made me think about. So that's a good question. Thank you.
Because it's not like Data has a lack of passion. So it's not like, because I think emotions are viewed as positive because they can lead you to do good things and they can drive you. But Data still has goals and he still functions. He's not stuck in bed every morning because he doesn't have emotions. He doesn't just freeze. He does things. So yeah.
Follow up to that, I was convinced that the one in Picard was going to turn out to be evil because they are always
one good, one
all
evil.
Are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of was too. But, spoiler on that one. We only really have one. So they're not going to I didn't think that.
Nope.
Yeah, I really see the Data and Spock characters similarly in a way.
Yeah.
But the curiosity for me about the Vulcan is that they work to repress as part of their, way of life, and someone like Data just doesn't even have the ability to do it until a program is created.
There is a great episode that I don't know that we'll get to, but Spock and Data actually meet and they talk to each other. And because Spock is half human, Data asks the question, like, it's fascinating to me that my goal is to be human and you rejected that as a choice. Like, you decided to be completely Vulcan and reject your emotions, whereas I've been searching for them my whole life. And they have this great interaction. It's so good.
Oh, man. I don't want to cry. Yeah. All right, moving on. Steve Not Reeves says, would you guys watch some TOS episodes before season 2 of Strange New Worlds come out.
Man, if I knew ahead of time what they were going to be referencing, this is the only downside to Strange New Worlds. And it's not a downside at all. It's the fact that I don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know what knowledge to give to Danae, because Balance of Terror would have been an excellent episode to watch ahead of the finale of Strange New Worlds. So we'll definitely watch Balance of Terror and see if she remembers some of like the similarities and the dramatic eyes on Spock when the Romulans are revealed. Yeah, I would. I don't know if we're going to get chance before February.
Especially not all of it. Like we couldn't go through.
Oh no! But picking out some key fun episodes. Yeah, I would definitely like to. We're pretty.
But at the same time, just like from the opposite side of things, though, not having seen that and watching that, and then having the conversation about it without context for the podcast was something we could never have.
Oh, absolutely.
If I had watched it, because when we watched Strange New Worlds finale, I could see like Ian and Aaron were both holding their breath, like, because they liked it, but there was something else going on, and I'm just like, so then it became this curious conversation, thinking, well, that scene didn't work for me because it was kind of like, all right, that was really on the nose, and I'm like, that scene worked for me because it's the first time I've seen it and I liked it.
Yeah.
So there's this interesting dynamic in the way that we are watching Strange New Worlds. So I would almost request not to watch anything from TOS, because again, this is my first time to really be introduced to these characters. So even though of course I know the name Spock and I know the name the blah blah blah, blah, like I know that lore because of being in society and somewhat plugged into pop culture.
Just existing.
I'm developing my relationship with these characters before they get to the Enterprise, and I kind of like keeping it.
I think I hadn't thought of that. That's a really valid point, because you're going to have the experience of knowing this crew of the Enterprise better and more than the Captain Kirk crew of the Enterprise, and it may even be spoilery because we're skipping 7 years into the future to see stuff that hasn't happened for Strange New Worlds yet. So I really actually love the idea of you just staying in Strange New Worlds as this is your first, the original Enterprise crew, and just being embedded in that. Like that is your Enterprise crew.
But it'll be interesting because we're going to be going live to have our podcast now. So you guys are going to be able to watch the show, join us live, and we're going to have quite a lot to kind of cover. It's gonna. I'm really looking forward to the next Strange New Worlds. Like,
yeah, this is gonna be.
I haven't
fun.
been this excited. So Rings of Power and Strange New Worlds. I'm just like the happiest person.
Rings of Power is going to be like, and season 2 has an all-female directing team for the entire season. I think that's so cool.
Okay, let's go. Cool. That's exciting. Zinc Stoat says Descent Part 2 is in the first volume of the TNG Nitpicker's Guide. Just dug it off of the shelf.
Oh. And I have volume 2. That's weird. Maybe he updated it but didn't update season 7.
Possibly.
I bet he probably tells you that in the preface.
I'm
just going to
Zinc says I have TOS volume and TNG volumes 1 and 2. Just so you know, those of you who are watching, thinking about getting some books. And Link says, question, who do you think is the worst captain in Star Trek? Mine's Captain Whittington.
Oh.
Guys, can we
Ian.
Can we get some poor Ians in the chat? Just look at that sad that's a sad face. Behold the captain. Rejected. Okay, I can't. No. All right. It's when you start staring and tilting that I'm like, I can't.
Can't do it. Can't do it anymore.
No.
Yes, I think the episode with Spock and Data was one of the unifications, part 2.
So hey, today we're going to go say hi to Classy Pax. Also, this is my dog Twix, who likes to sometimes have my attention during the show.
Hey, puppies.
We're gonna go see Classy Pax because we're gonna have Classy Pax on Captain's Pod sometime in the next X amount of weeks. Like it's gonna be soonish.
In
relatively
January sometime.
soon.
Yeah.
And so we're putting that together now. So really excited to have him over. And even though our audience is growing, please everybody jump into the raid, because I told him we were going to come over today and he was giving me some shit. So it'll be fun.
My.
He wants me to join him on a new game. And so I'm going to be gaming with Classy at some point. We've got fun plans in the works. So there's some fun things. So jump into the raid and at least pop over and say hi to Classy. He's playing, I don't remember which game, Call of the Wild, the Angler right now. And yeah, tell him we said hi and send our love. And we'll see you guys on Thursday next week for some Mario Kart. You can come right back to this channel on Monday for Recotopia. It's a special week next week. Monday is Recotopia. So check the calendar information here on Twitch. And we'll see you guys next time. Anything else, Ian, before we go?
Bye!
Bye!
Oh, give us reviews on iTunes.